Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Locke and Key, Season 3, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, obviously, we have Dodge pretending to be Bodhi. The fact of the matter is, you think Dodge will be a lot better at this, but I guess it's a little bit different. It's like, right, having to pretend to be a teenager versus playing a kid, it's annoying, because out of any of them, I mean, Dodge made a point last episode, like, oh, that sound in your voice, it just, annoys me. Like, it's like, she hates Bodhi. So it's like, yeah. So, understandable why it probably, like, pisses Dodge off the most to hear, to be in Bodhi's body and stuff like that. Because I'm about to say, like, all the stuff you went through being Gabe, to be fair, you got a little too ahead of yourself, you know, as Dodge when it came to the whole Tyler thing, so that kind of gave you away. But Gabe, you were secured with being Gabe. Like, the fact is, you had Kinsey wrapped around your finger, you had everyone wrapped around your finger, no one was the wiser, but it's like, man, you can't help yourself. Like, to be fair, this is a Dodge who knows the end result of I lose, they win, something happens to me, so Dodge is a little impatient. You add in the fact is that Dodge meets up with Gideon and his people, because it's interesting, the moment Dodge came here, he could immediately, to be fair, the moment Gideon rose, Dorothy and Ada could immediately sense him as well. So now Bodhi, like, I guess it just comes down to what you're exuberating. Because I guess because the one inside of Gideon is like top dog, it senses Dodge inside of Bodhi before Bodhi sensed Gideon. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, like all this stuff of just like him acting like a complete and utter tool. I'm like, you would think you'd keep up a front, because they're not going to see this coming. I mean, it also especially because Dodge doesn't want to do the long play, even though you were in the perfect opportunity to do the long play, because because you're in the body of a Locke, you don't need permission to get the keys. You just need to take the keys. So then we start, but once again, it's back to the point I made that it's just Dodge is super, super impatient. And it's just like acting so annoyed. Like, you think you played the kid-like element of Bodhi, but you can't keep your shit together. I'm like, how did you fool so many people as Gabe? But it's like, yeah, you're impatient right now. You already know what the end of your story is. So you're like a little pissed off at this family too, because you're like, these bastards kill me. So that's going to obviously piss you off. So Jamie can tell something's off. He's acting like a complete and utter douchebag when it comes to Josh. To be fair, Bodhi would be too, but he'd eventually rein it back in, because Nina's just treating it as like, right, he has an issue with Josh and that's all it is. But what I also thought was interesting too, like really quickly, when Dodge went to go see Gideon, Dodge was like, what is my reward for bringing you the keys? Because Dodge is so focused on using the keys individually and their powers, but it's like, for him, it's like, Gideon, it's like, these are trinkets that give into human vanity. It's just what these are. Like, I mean, they are based around what humans wanted. The Locks manifested their desires into these keys. So they're born from, like, human vanity and stuff like that. As he said, it's like, them together, I can open a rift. And I thought that was interesting, that I was like, is the rift just going to stay open? It's like, no. At the moment he lets go of the keys and not focusing on them like that, the rift the rift to the Omega door, or to the other world, starts closing. And Dodge is like, cool, so what do I win? And it's like, you get to serve as my right hand in this new world. And Dodge is kind of like, fair enough. It's like, not what you necessarily want. What's interesting, though, is Dodge found out about the angel key, so you could definitely tell Dodge is most likely trying, because Dodge is like, I'm trying to get an angel key. Dodge thinks if they can get the angel key, they can kill Gideon, and this will be over. It's like, cool, because it's like, I'm not about to be anyone's lackey. I mean, Eden was Dodge's lackey, and now it's like Dodge was kind of top dog, and now you have to serve someone else. So it's like, no, I came to this world, been in this world, I've been running things for a while, this is supposed to be my kingdom, it's my chance to kind of rule things. So Dodge is most likely going to try and use the angel key on Gideon to get rid of him. So even more motivation of, they want to siege the house. Let me play things my way. It's like, I need to hurry up and find a weapon that can kill you so I can get you out of the way. And I can start taking control of everything. I can make the world mine. Plus, also, this Dodge died before Eden died, so Dodge has no idea what happened to Eden. It's like, cool. I mean, to be fair, you and Eden had your back and forth, like you threatened to kill Eden on a few occasions, so Frederick just ended up doing it, but it also showcases Frederick can't necessarily be trusted. To be fair, Eden tried to do what you did, try to be all in control and stuff, like try to be the boss. It super backfired on her, and she's super dead because of it. So you try and screw him over, try to screw Gideon over, he will most likely retaliate. I mean, truth be told, is get what he wants. He probably won't even take you as his right hand. It's like, nah, I'm gonna kill you. So, especially if he finds out about some of those slick machinations you have of trying to like stab him in the back, literally. So, we'll have to wait and see how things kind of play out on that front. Other elements to the story, obviously being back home, like Tyler's like finally like sitting down, and especially him and Kinsey not being in a good spot, a good place, that he's thinking about Jackie. And it's an interesting thing because they don't showcase it, but let's not, like I've brought up previously, there are going to be blank space in his memories. But I'm curious, to him, those blank spaces in his memories don't really feel like blank spaces, so that's why they probably never showcase it. It's like, oh yeah, like some of the things between him and Jackie were connected to the keys, but those memories are wiped and you don't even notice that they're gone, that they're blank. It's just kind of like, oh, those are just like missing days. It's just like, oh, must be something I forgot about, or what, yada, yada, yada. You could just like explain that away and rationalize it to yourself. But Carly rolling up, I figured Carly would just be a normal person, but I'm also like, it is kind of weird you kind of came all the way here after Tyler. To be fair, she does like him and he kind of ghosted her, but it's still kind of like, it's weird. Seems a little suspicious. I'm like, I'm sure she's not a demon because she hasn't brought up the keys once or whatever, because she would probably know that Tyler has no memory of him. Well, you wouldn't know that, but still. So Tyler and her are spending a lot of time together, and Kenzie's actually really happy when she sees that, because seeing Tyler happy makes her happy, because it's like, right, his life in Montana is pretty good. Like, he has someone. At least he's not alone. And it's like, right, we may not be good, but at least he's moving on in the right direction. He's moving on, and that's all she could ask for. And once again, it's like, because she doesn't have Tyler, she doesn't even have Scott to really talk to, because he's, busy at school, them being so far apart, she doesn't really have the time to really talk to him about everything. It's like, right, it's just they're on different time schedules. He's got his life, she's kind of got hers. Once again, doesn't really have anyone, at least her own age, she can really confide in like that. She has the Savinis, but like, Scott and Tyler are the people she relied on the most. I mean, truth be told, it was also Gabe too, so. But the two people she wants to rely on the most are like, one's so far away in a literal sense, and the other's is so far away in a metaphorical sense as well, and also kind of in a literal sense when he's in Montana, but still. Kind of finding her way through that, still continuing to be a struggle for her. Especially like, when she talking to Carly, she got like, they hit it off to some extent, because she really likes Carly, and she thinks I was like, oh, you and Tyler would be cute together. And she's like, oh, they're like, we're not together. It's like, oh, she's like, I'm sorry, I thought you guys would be nice together. And Carly's like, he told me about his girlfriend, and she's like, Jackie. It's like, yeah. And Tyler opens up, because this is the first time he's outwardly talked about Jackie. And even, he didn't say her name, but just that he had a girlfriend. And he hasn't talked to anyone about it. Obviously, he didn't talk to Carly about it until now. But it's just like, right, all the plans we had together, her dying, and just all those plans, they didn't matter anymore. They went out the window, so he had to get away from her because everything reminded him of Jackie. Because Carly, we don't really know her family circumstances, but it seems like she comes from a complicated family circumstance. And she thought, like, yeah, Tyler doesn't want to talk about his family, which she's like, I get that. So she assumed it was probably similar complicated circumstances of her own, but then she met his family and it's like, honestly, your family's actually pretty dope. I'm surprised we also didn't get any scenes between Nina and Carly, especially because she's staying there, but I guess that's just stuff that was probably like on the cutting room floor, like in the sense of like, those probably were scenes filmed, but they probably just cut around it. Either way. But it's like, seeing his family, it's like, oh, his family's really nice. You guys are actually really dope and supportive. And that's actually what she tells Tyler. She's like, people would kill to have what you have. Like, yeah, you and Kinsey aren't close like you used to be. Well, just talk to her, find out what it is. And he's like, oh, you're a therapist now. It's like, she's like, I don't want jerks in my life in Montana, so maybe you should stay here. But it's also like, right, your family's here, reach out to them. You know, people would, you're lucky to have people who care so much about you. And even saying like, right, Kenzie's probably keeping her distance, trying to give you your space, which he gets that, but he still feels like, yeah, I'm being lied to. It's like, he's trying to understand, and that's the hardest thing of understanding. Obviously, his circumstances aren't like Duncan's. Duncan's circumstances were a little more chaotic and violent because he literally had his memories taken from him. Not like he just forgot because he got older. It's like, no, they were literally taken from him. So he had a more violent response than Tyler did, because Tyler's memories are just naturally sealed because he forgot about magic. So I didn't talk about it last episode, but obviously being back has been pretty rough for Ellie, because she had those two teachers gossiping about her behind her back, and that's just a symptom of something much larger, because she dealt with it like in the first or second episode when they came back. They're like, oh my god, there's someone she knew, so happy to see. She's like, yeah, you know, it's just like, right, she's gonna have to deal with that forever, especially because one of the teachers had the audacity to be like, yeah, she had a mental breakdown and she left her child behind, and she's like, I would never leave my son behind. And so now she wants to move. She sold the house, and Rufus is like, wait, we're going to leave. It's kind of very reflective of Nina and Bodhi's situation, that Bodhi isn't aware of just everything that Nina was kind of dealing with. And he just, you know, because obviously, you know, he's a kid. He's so caught up in his own feelings that, you know, you're not emotionally mature enough. Understand me, you're a kid to emotionally understand, like, right, your mom has her own issues. Obviously, you know, you're young, so you don't understand that. And kind of the same thing for Rufus. Rufus, he gets it, but at the same time, it's like, right, he wanted to be here. He didn't, you know, he wanted to come back, and he asked his mom to try, and sadly she did, but it's not easy. It's just, there's too many reminders of everything that she lost. I mean, especially going back to the school, what was one of the first things she looked at? It was a picture of them, specifically, it was her and I think Lucas, or maybe her and Rendell. I mean, or maybe just the crew, you know? And so all those wounds, you know, it's like you're trying to close them, you want a fresh start, but Rufus is mad at her. And ultimately, him and Bodhi are around each other, and yeah, Bodhi's asking him about the keys. I love, really quickly, it's like, Dodge got super annoyed when they were showing off the splattering. It's like, oh yeah, how'd you just like come up with the idea for like the lobster demons or whatever attacking? It's like, well, you know, as they say, art imitates life. Just to say we've been through some shit, and you could tell Dodge was so annoyed. It's like, oh, that must have happened, and you bastards are so giddy about beating me. You're like, oh, I hate you so much. It's like you could tell Dodge was severely annoyed by it, and trying to get information out of Doug. And it's like, what would you have done to Doug? There's other people around. You wouldn't have been able to kind of sweep that under the rug. But lucky for Doug, Zadie was like, oh, you coming? He's like, oh, cool. Got away before that got nasty. But then, like, came the Rufus situation, especially after he was a dick to Kinsey, because he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, man, you're the one that dropped the ball. He's like, man, you've done you kind of let everything go to shit. I mean, it's like, wow, no wonder Tyler wants to leave. It's like, what the hell did you just say to me, you little shit? And it's like, once again, you could at least play the role of Bodhi, but it's like, oh, let's go play Rufus. And it's like, oh, you got any hidden place? Like maybe on the floorboard, like Dodge. And in that moment, Rufus is like, how'd you know about Dodge's hiding spot? I was like, boom, you idiot. And he's like, yeah, because you told me. It's like, no, the only person who knew is me, my mom. And it's like, and the moment's like, oh, so did you visit me in, do you remember when you visited me in Minnesota? And in that moment, Dodge was like, you mean Nebraska? And it's like, damn. Because I think this, obviously this, Dodge, like, because that would have worked, but sadly, this Dodge was around to know that you went to Nebraska, that Bodhi visited you in Nebraska. So sadly, that didn't work, but that would have worked. But it's like, are you trying to trick me? It's like, no, why would I? Yeah, why would you? And it's like, where's my friend? Where's Bodhi? And starts attacking him. And in a moment, their moms come in. It's like, oh, Rufus, he had a tantrum. He attacked me. So Nina left. And it's like, because if he said anything, it's like, oh, I'll kill both of them. And obviously Nina's like, yeah, something's not Nina. Ellie left with Rufus, but Nina's like, something's wrong, and he's like, oh, I don't want you to replace your dad with Josh, and she's like, that's not going to happen. And it's like, and he gets that look of like, got you. He's like, oh, it's like you hate him so much because you remember how much of a manipulative bastard Dodge was as Gabe. So it's like, just kind of gets under your skin. It's just happening right underneath everyone, and they're completely unaware. But other than that, we had the whole situation with Tyler deciding to stay. You know, him and Carly kiss, but she's like, yeah, there's probably a chance that you're probably not coming back to Montana. He's like, yeah, my family I need to kind of be here to kind of fix things. So he wants to kind of, protect his family. So him and Kinsey kind of make up, but she has to show him the keys first. So she, once again, like, explaining magic doesn't do anything. You kind of have to see it firsthand, but more so than anything, even if you see it firsthand, you're going to forget immediately. So immediately brings out the memory key. And so restores Tyler's memory and brings everything back. Because she tried to say, like, no, you wanted to forget some stuff, and I'm trying to respect that. He's like, no, I'm just trying to understand. You want me to be happy? He's like, well, not having these memories, like, whatever it is, not knowing, I'm not happy, so please, So now the question is, now that he has his memories back, will Tyler regret that decision? It's like, now that it's all flooding back, it's the only way to deal with it. Once again, can the key be reversed? We haven't really... That hasn't come up yet about whether... Because it might be a one-and-done key. Like, once your memories have been activated to be aware and understand that magic exists, there might not be any undoing it. Maybe it is. Maybe, once again, we haven't crossed that bridge yet. But, at the same time that's all happening, sadly, Bodhi saw that Kinsey had the key and sees that all the keys were in the chest. I figured they wouldn't be in the cabinet anymore, especially because Bodhi already found the like chest key to put all of them in. So, but at the same time, Nina was in Bodhi's room trying to figure out like what was wrong with him, and ended up finding Dodge's body. I figured that you were like, by the last episode, I was like, you're probably most likely going to hide your body somewhere, because it's like that's going to open up a whole worm of questions. So. But Bodhi found her in his room, like, whoa, why you in my room, Mom? And she's probably like, I'll probably clean it. Like, she's not going to admit she knows it's Dodge. She's just going to keep up a front. So, that's definitely going to be interesting. But it's like, yeah, you've been found out. This wasn't that Gabe con. This only lasted a little while, so... And also, like last episode, I was like, oh, we're going to do with anything with the Sam thing. It's like, no. The only ghost we saw was Bodhi, so I guess we're not going to... Because, I mean, Sam is still there, so I would wonder if they're... But that still could come into play at some point in time. He could still end up helping. Like, he could get Dodge out of Bodhi's body, and then Bodhi can get inside of his body, and that could be his way of kind of making things right again. Like he tried to... Once again... It'd be interesting because it'd be beautiful because it'd be the inverse of last season where, once again, I brought up last episode that they struggled, Sam lost and got locked out. This time it'd be interesting if, he helps, and this time both him and Dodge are on the other side and Bodhi gets back to his body. If that is the case, though, that's going to be complicated because that means you can never open that ghost door again, or you'll have to deal with Dodge. So that's going to be like a no-no if you have to deal with things that way. So either way, very, very interesting episode. I'm excited to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.